Hi party people. Ooh, she is stuffy! As you can tell by my nasally voice and generally puffy appearance, I've got a nasty little head cold going on. So I thought I would switch up the format in this video a little bit. Flippity ol' scripta, if you know what I mean. And in this video, I'm going to take you through what I eat in a day, and that day just so happened to be Super Bowl Sunday.
Fun.
Now, in accordance with my stringent 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back, I will be showing you a full 24 hours of what I ate, not an hour more or less. Just exactly what you signed up for via the ironclad informal contract that was non-verbally signed and agreed upon when you clicked on this video. So our journey begins with the bowl of Kraft mac and cheese artfully drizzled with sriracha that I ate for dinner on Saturday night. Normally I aim a little higher than this, but I wasn't feeling well. I ate this and attempted to watch Shark Tank, but the feed kept glitching.
More frequently, leading to a happier relationship.
Partner's good to go.
With love sync, couples' desires are fulfilled.
Partner's good to go.
With love sync.
So just picture me eating boxed mac and cheese and watching that demonic loop. I could only go up from here. The next morning, I awoke from my NyQuil-induced slumber, bright-eyed, very bushy, and ready to take caffeine into the bloodstream. I made myself an espresso, and then Mark reminded me that we went to the grocery store the day before and bought this masala chai concentrate, and doesn't a dirty chai latte just sound decadent, a perfect little treat with which for me to cosplay being an entirely different person than the one I was last night? This new woman drinks organic homemade dirty chai lattes. She's never even heard of boxed mac and cheese. She does not know how to spell craft unless you're referring to what she does with her crochet needles and a cup of tea on a cozy afternoon. But it actually came out kind of crazy and really strong at first.
Whoa, it's intense.
Whoa.
Oh.
I had heated up milk and the chai concentrate in a 1-to-1 ratio, like the box asked of me, but I ended up steaming more milk to pour on top, and here is my latte art. It's a Pac-Man eating pellets. Thank you, yes, I worked hard on it. While I sipped, Mark began making our 3-part breakfast, a fever dream he had concocted while we were at the aforementioned grocery store. Part 1 of 3 was breakfast potatoes, and step 1 of part 1 was boiling them. And then, of course, it was time to add some seasonings: garlic powder, paprika, dill, onion powder, and a tablespoon or so of olive oil. You know the drill. The taters were then violently tossed until thoroughly adorned with the spice mixture. A hot cast iron skillet was then coated with a thin layer of olive oil, and the potatoes were laid to rest in an oily grave. Much sizzling occurred. And then they went in the oven, at which point the real chaos began to unfold. As the oven door closed, I asked Mark, "What's next?" To which he replied,
Now we can just chill for a few minutes.
So then we spent several minutes deciding upon a record to listen to and ultimately settled on the Graduate soundtrack. The way Dustin Hoffman looks at that scandalous lower leg is the same way I felt waiting for breakfast to be ready. The resemblance was uncanny, actually. It was at this point that we realized the potatoes would be done relatively soon, and nothing else we had planned to eat for breakfast had even begun to be prepared. Part 2 of this 3-part breakfast was decreed to be a breakfast sandwich on these croissants that we also bought at the grocery store yesterday. What a meaningful trip it had been. We hopped to it by opening this package of plant-based prosciutto slices, which slap pretty hard, although I would not normally choose them for a breakfast sandwich, but we are executing Mark's vision here, and he is a meat eater, whereas I am not, so perhaps he knows something I don't, is what I thought to myself. These thin boys fried up quicker than expected, and Mark was displeased by the amount of crisp that was rendered. There was some discussion of redoing at least one of them.
This one might have to redo one.
But there was simply no time for that, and they weren't really that bad anyway. Of course, egg and cheese are the pillars of any self-respecting breakfast sandwich, but eggs are expensive. Have you heard about how expensive the eggs are? Literally everyone's talking about it. And I don't really eat them anymore anyway, so I will be stuffing my sandwich with a vegan just egg patty that came from the freezer, and I can admit looks rather pale and somewhat unappetizing. But if you cover almost anything in habanero cheddar cheese, it will punch you in the mouth with flavor, and you will thank it for the pleasure. Plus, the just egg patty naturally got more attractive as it cooked. By this time, the potatoes were done cooking and they looked glorious. I mean, positively scrumptious. If they weren't still sitting in hot oil, I'd reach in there and pop one into my mouth with a sense of urgency. Mark was simultaneously toasting the croissants on the skillets and attempting to melt the cheese on my egg patty by covering it with an overturned tiny pan. It was all happening, and it was happening fast. The time to assemble these Sammies was rapidly approaching, and part 3 of this 3-part breakfast was still just a thought, a concept in Mark's mind's eye, yet to be birthed into the world, let alone onto the plate. But baby steps are how you learn to walk, so we continued by first assembling the sandwiches, gingerly laying the crispy plant-based prosciutto down to rest on its pillowy croissant bed, and then plopping my cheesy Just Egg patty on there.
Wow.
The ratio of Just Egg to prosciutto to croissant left something to be desired, but the best thing about eating a croissant sandwich is that even if parts are dry, you're still eating a croissant, which rocks. And here's the final plate. Part 3 was a hastily assembled but tasty side salad of arugula with a balsamic vinaigrette, which really brightened up the plate and gave the illusion that I was at a fancy brunch spot and not in my kitchen with a swollen face and a head cold. In true brunch fashion, we ate breakfast around lunchtime, so my next and final meal of this 24-hour period was dinner, and you're gonna want to strap in because it was a riot. In the meantime, though, I drank a kombucha and stared out the window. I also made my favorite go-to mocktail to enjoy while I'm down with the sickness, which I will present to you during this next segment, which I'm calling Xtine's Sick Girl Cocktail Club. Sickening. Hello ladies, here's a bev that is sure to put the pep back in your step. Fill a standard 12-ounce glass half of the way with fresh OJ, and by fresh I mean the regular bottled stuff that they had at the bodega. Fill the glass the rest of the way with water from the tap. It's probably clean enough. Finish with a delicate emergency foam. Stir before serving, and enjoy. Follow me for more Sick Girl cocktails.
This has been Xtine's Sick Girl Cocktail Club.
Some time passed, and then it came time to decide what to have for dinner.
There were minutes of discussion about what we should eat for dinner, and we have settled on Garibaldi's, which is a sandwich that Mark very much enjoys making. It's a quintessential Super Bowl food for him.
Even though I thought we were going to boycott the Super Bowl as a household, Mark did not share that thought.
Mark wants to watch it, so we'll probably have it on. And we gotta see Kendrick do the halftime show, obviously.
And so it was decided, and Mark ran to the store for the necessary supplies.
Good luck.
I did not protest because these sandwiches are really fucking good. For the uninitiated, a Garibaldi is basically a tomato and meat and cheese sandwich with some peppers on it that is toasted and buttery and delicious. So one of the things Mark picked up on his grocery store side quest were these tomatoes, which were washed and then sliced in the usual way that you would slice a tomato for a sandwich. The Garibaldi also falls into the submarine genre of sandwich, so naturally we needed 2 long dinner rolls to serve as the vessel for our filling. Move over, Subway, we've got long bread to fill. Mark sliced the rolls in half with the focus of a painter preparing his canvas for battle. Then he melted a little butter in a mug in the microwave and painted it onto both sides of the bread. That's right, tops and bottoms. Hips and nips. Dry bread need not apply. The butter really becomes the MVP of the sandwich once this baby gets toasted. Then it was time to artfully arrange the fillings. Remember the prosciutto slices from this morning? They are back. We love a versatile queen. We used up the rest of those as the first layer of the sandwich. And from what I understand, the real trick to getting this sandwich right is just piling as much salty, highly processed meat or plant-based meat as you can on there. Which of course means that veggie salami was next in line. I like this brand in case you're in the market for plant-based salami and looking for a recommendation. Gazing upon this hearty helping of salami smothering the prosciutto, I could already feel my cholesterol spiking. But we weren't done yet. Nay, we desperately needed a layer of hickory smoked deli slices made by none other than the butt of every plant-based joke,
Tofurkey.
I've never eaten an actual tofurkey, like at Thanksgiving or whatever, but other things that tofurkey makes are not bad. These slices, for example, not bad. Perfect for an unhealthy sub such as this. Next, tomatoes. At which point I attempted the Arby's jingle.
We have the meats. Boom, 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 boom.
And Mark panicked that he sliced too many.
Oh god, I guess I didn't need this many tomatoes. Oh well.
That's okay.
Salt and pepper. Almost never a bad idea. And now for what sets the Garibaldi apart from other sandwiches, what makes her not like other girls. The banana peppers. Go wild here. Dare I say, go bananas? We added a thick layer to the first sandwich, and I briefly panicked that we didn't have enough.
Done.
Oh. Oh, there's another jar?
Yeah.
Oh.
But apparently I had forgotten that Mark literally just went to the store to get supplies specifically for this sandwich, so of course he had purchased a backup jar.
Boing, 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 boing. Woo!
Much rejoicing occurred. The sandwiches were almost ready for toasting, the Super Bowl was almost about to begin, and Patrick Mahomes had already arrived at the stadium wearing a tacky Eagles shade of green suit, ready to turn over the ball thrice and get sacked no less than 6 times. Deliciousness was about to ensue on all accounts. But first, cheese. Pepper jack cheese is the only suitable cheese for a Garibaldi as far as this household is concerned. Mark decided to go with a diamond arrangement on one side and squares on the other.
Sure.
That way you get full coverage.
And who am I to argue with that mathematical assessment? And just like that, the sandwiches were complete and ready to go in the oven for toasting. We just left them in there until the cheese got melty, and then it was time to reunite the tops with their bottoms and slice this baby in half for ease of shoveling into my mouth. This is obviously not a sandwich that we eat all the time, but for a special occasion such as watching the Chiefs have their absolute worst game of the season when it mattered the most, it was a delightful pairing. It's always so good. I apologize for all of the football talk, but I still have some unresolved issues and, quite frankly, resentment in my heart for the Chiefs due to being a Bills fan. But luckily it ended up being a winning night for haters everywhere, as the Eagles absolutely walloped the Chiefs and Kendrick Lamar did the same thing to Drake, but while somehow pulling off wearing flare jeans and even more impressive feet. Thank you, good night, and good luck. Somebody is honking outside. Somebody is honking outside. They think it will make a difference, but it won't. All it does is make noise. Somebody is honking outside. Somebody is honking outside. They think it'll make a difference, but it won't. All it does is make noise.